Welcome back to the Life of Buddha series. In episode 18, we learned about the Dharmakakra Sutra, the opening of the Dharma wheel. In this sermon, the Buddha presented the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. He explained that life includes suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. The Noble Eightfold Path, described in detail by the Buddha, includes right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. He emphasized that these 8 factors are not separate but work together, supporting each other. The Buddha also explained the relationship between the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path and other concepts in his teachings, such as the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the faculties and powers of practice. This sermon marks the opening of the Dharma wheel, the beginning of the Buddha's journey of spreading the Dharma, bringing the light of enlightenment to many sentient beings. Episode 19, the Sutra on the Non-Self, the Buddha's teaching on the 5 aggregates. Deer Park, a beautiful, cool, and fresh place like a peaceful oasis. There are ancient tamarind trees, towering sala trees, majestic and stately asatha trees, and dense rows of mango trees, which both provide shade and purify the environment, so the air always feels clean and free of dust. This prosperous settlement, Isapatana, the place where the gods fall, is only about a yojana, now 11 kilometers, from the city of Varanasi. It is a densely populated place, with bustling trading and religious activities. Every morning, after cleaning, meditating, and walking meditation, the monks took turns to go out for alms after the sun had just risen above the horizon. As for the Buddha, they bowed and offered him alms wholeheartedly. Having understood the middle path, contentment and minimal desires were the main thing. They no longer ate food the size of a fist, but had to have enough nutrients to nourish their bodies and practice. Their leisurely steps took them to prosperous villages and sometimes to the city. The food was always plentiful, both in quantity and quality. However, according to the elder's opinion, the monk Kondanya avoided going into the city because it was a city of Brahmanism. The followers of Brahmanism here were quite extreme. If they saw a type of monk in yellow robes with clean hair and beard, different from their monks, they often showed disdain, spoke rudely, and sometimes obstructed their alms begging. There is nothing to be afraid of, but avoid unnecessary collisions or misunderstandings while in the stage of contemplating the immortal Dharma, which is still too new to them. Everyone has a firm belief, but when not equipped with enough knowledge, when speaking, communicating, and interacting, it is difficult to avoid inappropriate and short-sighted statements that are harmful to the reputation of the Venerable Master. After just over 10 days of eating and living a moderate life, they all had regained their flesh and looked better than during their years of asceticism. Thanks to moderation and joy, each of them had a healthy complexion and their eyes were sparkling. When they stopped to rest, to avoid the rain or the dust and mud from the busy convoy of horse-drawn carriages and ox carts on the road, they discussed with each other. Mahanam said, "When the Buddha was a prince, he was famous for his learning. There was nothing he was not knowledgeable about in the 3 Vedas and the 18 disciplines. The same is true of medicine. He presented the 4 noble truths as a physician would speak. This illness, the cause of this illness, if you want to cure it, if you want to end this illness, you must take medicine like this." Vapa added, "That's right. There are many good arguments drawn from that. Look, hunger. The cause of hunger is crop failure. To be prosperous, to have enough, to avoid hunger, you must know how to be diligent, take care of the crops, and have favorable weather." Bhadia showed that he knew how to develop the problem. Great, but there are many other ways to say it. This ignorance, the cause of ignorance, is not listening, not learning. If you want to be clear-minded and wise, you must know how to learn and practice the Dharma. In addition, sometimes they discussed points in the Dhammacappavatana Sutta, the difficult points in the noble truths of cessation and path. When evening came, if Kondanya could not answer, they would ask the Buddha, and he was always ready. The Buddha was prepared, ready to give another important sermon. This sermon was completely against the old religious tradition, and from ancient times until now, No such idea, no such argument had ever been raised. It seemed that after his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, from the center of wisdom, the teachings radiated from there, without following anyone, without repeating old worn-out knowledge. The Buddha knew this clearly. The day before yesterday, on a clear afternoon, exactly on the 30th day of the month of Asaha, knowing that all 5 bhikkhus had prepared their minds and hearts, the Buddha called them together, gathered under the largest asatha tree in the garden, and then began the sermon. Dear monks, this is an extremely important Dharma talk called by the Tathagata as the non-self image. A few days ago, the Tathagata spoke generally about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, that is, mindfulness of the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects. Now the Tathagata wants to develop that topic in a different direction, a different way of speaking, also revolving around the real details related to the body and mind. For those who are wise, after listening, they will understand. After listening, they will be able to liberate themselves from all hindrances, all obstacles, all floods, all flows, all defilements, all impurities. Please try to listen. Yes, sir, Venerable Master. What makes up our body and mind, if we look closely and clearly, is this physical body. What is called mind, or name, includes feeling, Vedana, perception, sanya, mental formations, sankhara, and consciousness, vijnana. First, observe the material form, rupa, that is, this body with skin and flesh. Have you ever questioned whether it is me, atta, self, or not me, anatta, non-self? Kondanya replied, according to habit, this body, this form is me, is mine. In it there is a self, O world-honored one. Is that habit correct, Kondanya? If this form were me, mine, myself, then I would have complete right to own it, to possess it? Yes, Venerable Master. Is it like a king, owning the country, owning the people, and having the right to force everyone, from officials to commoners, to do this, to do that? If they do not do it, the king will warn and punish according to the severity of the crime? Yes, that's the majority opinion. Kondanya, if this body were me, mine like a king who owns his subjects and kingdom, then suppose this body were sick and in pain, and since I have the power, I could tell this body not to be sick and not to be in pain. Would that be possible, Kondanya? Kondanya was silent, at a loss for an answer. When this body weakens and grows old, since it is me, mine, do I have the right to say, body, don't weaken and grow old? Is that right, Kondanya? There is no right, no way to instruct, O world-honored one. Because I am the master, do I have the right to say that my body should be like this, my body should not be like that? I give up. Dear Master, after a moment of silence, the Buddha said, so then we have no rights to this body? It gets old, it gets weak, it gets sick. We just have to accept it. Yes, I do. I give up. So why do people often say, this form is me, it belongs to me, it is myself? That statement is not true. So we must speak truthfully with the truth. Form is not me, not mine, not myself. Yes, that's right. Buddha suddenly raised his voice. Bhikkhus, not only this form, but any form whatsoever, past, present, future, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, near or far, all that form is not me, is not mine, is not myself. This was so new to all 5 bhikkhus that they just bowed their heads and listened very attentively and seriously. The Buddha continued, the same is true of feelings and sensations, monks. When we are uncomfortable, itchy, or in pain, suffering, we cannot control them. We cannot tell them not to be itchy, not to be numb, not to be in pain. When we have pleasant, joyful, and enjoyable feelings, happiness, we cannot tell them, stay here, don't go away, don't let them disappear, because in fact, whether they stay or go is up to them. We have no power over them. The disciples understood because feelings are not me, mine, or myself. Even past, present, future feelings, coarse or subtle feelings, internal or external feelings, near or far, inferior or superior, all of them are not me, not mine, not myself. Kondanya suddenly said, Venerable world-honored one, we disciples understand. If form and feeling are like that, then perception, mental formations, and consciousness must also be clearly understood to conform to the truth. That is, all of them, the 5 aggregates, are not me, not mine, not myself. Etam mama eso asmi, eso me atat. That's right. The Buddha nodded gently. What we perceive, feel this thing, that thing, what color it is, what shape it is, or when we imagine this thing, that thing in the present, past, or future, All of them come and go according to the law of dependent origination. That perception is truly not me, is mine, is myself. Mental states, mental formations are similar to a river. They are obtained by successive drops of water flowing. One mind dies, another mind is born. Greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, doubt, jealousy, regret, or mindfulness, compassion, joy, thought, wisdom, love, hate, shame, no shame, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes hot, sometimes cool, sometimes gentle. Just follow each other. There is no self, no ego there. Then even the knowledge of the eyes, ears, the knowledge, the perception of consciousness, records, experiences, compares, distinguishes, retains things, concepts, good or bad. They come and go, arise and cease, past, present, future, far or near, high or low, humble or noble, coarse or subtle, this world or that world, all have no self, no self-possession. So monks, when form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are not me, not mine, not myself, is it reasonable, is it true that we often say, my body is old, I am in pain, I perceive, I decide, I realize? There is truly no such self, Venerable Master. Bhikkhus, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness are just form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. They are 5 separate parts, 5 flowing rivers, combined to form what is called a being, a sentient being. There is no self, no ego, Atta Atman there. Is that so? Furthermore, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness all flow, change, and become impermanent. So are they permanent, Nika, or impermanent, Anika? Sir, clearly they are impermanent. Being impermanent, they are all dukkha. Dukkha is not only suffering in the conventional sense, but also includes all suffering, when they are there and then not there, incomplete, empty, unestablished, ungraspable, and unattainable. Not even a form, a shadow, a feeling, a state of mind, a thought, an idea, a dream, a goal, an ideal. They are like mirages in the desert, like bubbles, like hallucinations, like last night's dreams, like magic tricks. Again, on the temporary establishment and positioning in space, because there is no self-nature, no entity, it is called non-self. In the continuous flow of time, everything changes, transforms, cannot remain unchanged, motionless, a state even for a moment, so they are called impermanent. Because of non-self, impermanence, they are dukkha. This is the truth when we practice introspection to clearly see the true nature of the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Kondanya suddenly asked, Dear world-honored one, when teaching the Dharma Chakra, talking about the 4 noble truths, first the truth of suffering, you mentioned the 8 sufferings, and the 5 aggregates of suffering are what is included, what is ultimately contained in this body and mind. Today, the world-honored one also leads to the practice of introspection to clearly see the true nature of those 5 aggregates. All of them are without self, impermanent, so they are dukkha. So then, all dharmas, internal and external, as small as dust particles, as large as mountains, rivers, and the earth, are they included in that theory? That corollary is not established. There must be an exception, a limit, Kondanya. Why is that? External nature, rivers and mountains, sun and rain, day and night, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, they also have no self-nature, no real nature, are without self-nature. They also change, also transform, are impermanent, but they are not dukkha. Green leaves, yellow leaves, the moon rises, the moon sets, flowers bloom, flowers fade, smoke becomes clouds, clouds become rain. All of them are without self, impermanent but not dukkha. The selflessness, impermanence of external nature, of all things, is an inevitable truth. Without it, not even a particle of dust would exist, but their dukkha does not arise. Bhikkhus, the Tathagata's teaching of non-self is established for practice, to look within, to contemplate, to see clearly in order to end dukkha. For a long time, traditional thoughts as well as the majority's views have believed that there is a self, a real existence, a self-nature, a soul in this form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness, in these 5 aggregates. From that mistaken perception, so much pain, suffering, then death also arise from that self and its possessions. Bhikkhus, please contemplate a pleasant or unpleasant feeling, an object of love or hate. These states of mind are erratic, impersonal, changing, impersonal, and impermanent, leading to dukkha. The cause of all dukkha is craving. The cessation of craving is nibbana. Practicing according to the Noble Eightfold Path, clearly seeing the 5 aggregates as they truly are, all dukkha ceases to exist. This is called the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Venerable world-honored one, seeing form as it really is, feeling as it really is, or seeing the aggregate of form as it really is, the aggregate of feeling as it really is. How are they similar? How are they different? Kondanya asked. Yes, this question goes straight to the point. The Buddha praised, form as it really is form without aggregates. Feeling as it really is feeling without aggregates. It is the aggregates that cover up, pile up on form to form the aggregate of form. It is the aggregates that cover up, pile up on feeling to form the aggregate of feeling. Please give an example so that we, the Blessed One, can understand this important point, said Vapa. An object, a form, for example a person, when we love or hate them, love, we have already covered up, aggregate, that true form. It has already turned into the aggregate of form. Hearing a voice, when we love it, that sound is nice and pleasant, but when we hate that person, that sound becomes unpleasant and frustrating. Why is that? Because those feelings have been covered up, aggregate, by love or hate, love. It has already turned into the aggregate of feeling, bhikkhus. It is because of these aggregates, because of these cravings, that suffering arises. And that is not enough. One still holds that the aggregate of form is me, is mine. The aggregate of feeling is me, is mine. And it is precisely these 5 aggregates of grasping that are the cause of all suffering that those who practice introspection and insight need to see clearly. Bhikkhus, with insight, clear insight, true insight, that the Tathagata has seen the true nature, clearly seeing that the 5 aggregates are not me, not mine, not myself. Now the holy Shravakas, the disciples of the Tathagata, must also know how to be weary of the aggregates of form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. When we are weary like this, the mind will no longer be passionate, greedy, or attached to the 5 aggregates. And when there is no more desire, love, or attachment, then all ties, bonds, and attachments are freed. The mind is naturally liberated. When liberated, one knows that one is liberated. The cycle of birth and death has ended. The life of the holy life has been fulfilled. All duties have been done, and one clearly knows that from now on there will be no more rebirth in samsara. After the Buddha finished preaching the Dharma of non-self, the 5 bhikkhus knelt down and paid homage, extremely joyful. Their minds and intelligence had become clear and pure, far removed from all defilements, freed from all attachments to the 5 aggregates. They had attained the fruit of arhatship, had been liberated, had clearly seen nirvana. At that moment, the earth shook, and the gods and Brahmas of all realms praised and extolled. They bore witness that 5 bhikkhus, 5 arahants, had been born on this continent of Jambudvipa. They were the holy disciples, considered the solid foundation for the first church of the world-honored one. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Geoy Duck. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel buddhiststory. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, The Life of Buddha Shakyamuni.